Tuesday morning. Let's get this going here. PK here. With another out of the box. Very early in the morning here. It's about 5:30 Tuesday. We're going to talk about today is, I get asked all the time. Remember, I've been trader 35 years. 61, started at 22. I get asked all the time, PK, what was your best and worst trade in your career? It's a good question. So let's just start with the best trade. The best trade I made happened to be really in the beginning. And of course, this is what gives you the power, the energy, the desire to think to yourself, wow, I really can do this. I was 22 years old, working at Bear Stearns, my second job. I was the assistant in the commodity department. And it was around February, I happened to notice that orange juice, there was a freeze in Florida. The weather got bad, the orange juice took off. And I went back, this time, remember there was no online trading and charting services. We used to get these things in the mail. They had charting books and give you weekly updates. So I went back and I looked at the history. I was fascinated because it had went up day after day with no trading, the term limit up, where you can't get in. As I mentioned before, it's always a disaster. It's in a disaster, whether it's a financial disaster or a weather disaster. This is where you really can make big money quickly. And regarding the stocks, of course, you can make it very quickly on one of these earnings reports. But the problem is the stocks is a much bigger gamble, taking a position before a major earnings report. But there are ways to do it, which we can talk about in another video. So anyway, back to the juice. I happen to notice in the history of orange juice that during the winter months, there's that chance of a freeze. And then after the freeze, by the summer, it comes all the way back down. So meanwhile, it's February. I go to my broker, my boss actually, who was the manager of the commodity department, and I said, I want to go short the orange juice, and he wouldn't let me do it. He said, you can't go short. I'm not going to let you go short during the winter. It's still February. So I said to myself, next time, if one day when I'm on my own, I have that chance, I'll never forget that. And of course, what happened, by the summer, the price came all the way back down. It went from $1 to about $1.50. From the freeze, went up about 45 cents in a week. And it came all the way back down. Of course, I never forgot that experience. So meanwhile, we're a year later. Now I have my own firm. And it's the summer. And I decided that, I noticed too, that, remember, these are seasonal plays. These things go on in the orange juice, they go on in coffee, they can go on in sugar. If you look back on the history, or soybeans, when there's a drought, hurricane, or some weather, a freeze. This is where you really can make very big money quickly and easily. There's no handling, there's no trading. It just goes up, 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 straight up. So I noticed in the juice that you have to get in the summer, and you got to you can't wait till into the winter, because then it's too late. The price has already gone up. And you remember, you have to be in before the freeze, before the bad weather actually happened. Or it's too late, you can't get in. So I bought the juice. It was at around about $1. I bought it in August, and now it's December, coming into the freeze season in Florida. And what happened was, it was about $1.20. No freeze, but I made some money. It was a good trade. And I'm hoping, for a freeze, I used to listen to, you can sign up for these weather forecasts, specialized just in these commodities. Next thing you know, so I go to, my parents take me, because I was working. Over the Christmas vacation, my parents took me to Hawaii to get away for 1 week, exactly Christmas week. And we went to Maui. I get up in the morning. They had one of those situations where they give breakfast, so I went by myself. And in some of these very nice hotels, they give you the newspaper. It comes when you go sit down at the table. On the front page of the Honolulu newspaper the headline was "Big Freeze in Florida," and the picture was an orange with an icicle hanging down. And I thought, oh my God, I don't believe it. Of course, I got on the phone, called my office, and yes, there was this big freeze in Florida. Make a long story short, in 5 days, it went limit up 5 days in a row, no trading. It went from $1.20 to around $1.60. And I made $75,000 in 5 days. And this you can't imagine. Remember, we're talking about 1983 money. That'd be like making maybe $250 today. With no trading, no sweating, no moving your stop, no watching. Just up. But then it starts to trade. After so many days, it went limit up 5 days in a row and got out. And that was my first real big winning trade at 23 years old, and this got me going. You can imagine what it does to your confidence. And I really thought to myself, wow, I have some talent here. I've just proven it. Yes, it was luck, but the smart thing was I did get in the summer, knowing how to get in and wait for it. So I had some natural talent as a trader. So that was my best trade. My worst trade was maybe, I think I was in Europe, and I trade the DAX when I was living in Europe, which is the German stock index future. It's very volatile. It's kind of like our version of the NASDAQ. And it's not such a big story. It's just that I just decided to watch it, which we know is a mistake. Started moving down against me, and the thing had collapsed. Some news event. This is the problem. You don't have a stop. You think you can watch it, even with the trading, with the direct access trading. It can move and get away from you in 30 seconds, in 1 minute. Some news hits the market, and you're just screwed. And I sat there, and I think I lost about $10,000 in about 2 minutes. Now, when you're trading your own money, one thing is losing this money over time, over a series of trading, but to lose it in one trade, really on a mistake. I tell you, this just really felt horrible, wiped me out. So that was so in terms of the worst trade, that was not such a big story, but a very good example of that. If you're a trader and you're using leverage, especially in the futures, but I can make an argument also on the stocks too. If you're betting big on your stock trade, picking an individual stock that's volatile, things like Tesla or Google or some of the things that really move, you gotta have. Even if you don't want to put a stop in for a short stop, put it way far away as a backup emergency stop. This is another big tip I can strongly recommend. The other thing I would like to, so that's my best trade was in the juice. My worst trade was in the DAX. This was, as I mentioned, about 8 years ago. Then one other thing I'd like to mention, actually 2 more things. What was my best mistake? When you're a trader, all of us are human, especially in the computer. You're going to make mistakes. You'll push the buy button. It should be sell. You push stop. You don't have a stop in, or the stop number is wrong. You're going to make mistakes, and we all know when you make a mistake in the market with your trading, you usually end up losing those mistakes. So, what happened was, again, this happened in the beginning, early in my career, but this was a mistake the only time I made a mistake that turned out to be a winning mistake. It happened to be, I first started working again at Bear Stearns in right in the BS 22 years old. I had bought coffee, made some coffee trade. And I put a stop in, and what happened was I forgot to cancel the sell stop as the market came down. Next thing you know, my boss, who's the manager of the commodity department, tells me, he says, "What do you want to do with your $5,000 winner? You're up 5,000 in the coffee trade. You're short the coffee." And I said, "What? What coffee?" And you know what I was in? He said, "Oh, you've been in for 2 weeks." So I found out I had forgot to cancel the stop. But what happened was the market kept dropping and got me short into the market. And that was the only time I ever made a mistake that I made money on. Every other time, it's a loser. So you have to, I don't care what size account you have to figure in you're going to make mistakes. We're all human. And the last thing I want to say is, I want to mention, what was my worst moment of my career? It was kind of like a trade, but the worst thing that ever really happened to me in the market was, if some of you know some of the history of the stock market, we had this Black Tuesday in 1987 where the market collapsed like 20% one day, which was huge for that time. I had my own. This time I was trading from home. I was out of my own business, but I had gone short. I had seen that trade. Of course, I never thought it would happen in one day. I got short in the summer. Remember, the Dow was maybe 1,500, down 2,000 and going up. And my father had given me a very good size account to trade with. I was very fortunate. As I said, you really need to have the right amount. If you really want to have a career as a trader, having the right start and the right account size, this is important. And so my father was generous, and he gave me $200,000 account, which was, quite a bit. It'd be like getting $500,000 today, or even 600,000, which is a little bit unrealistic. You don't need that much money to start. You really don't. I think if you're trading, you really need about 50,000. Do you hear stories of people doing it for less? Yes, you can, but the odds are you're going to lose unless you get very, very lucky in the beginning. So what happened was I went short the market in the summer. Now remember, the market, it kept going up and up and up and up. And of course, my father was screaming at me. He told me, he said, "If you lose half, I'll pull the plug. You're done." And that's it. And I had been down 25%. This is my worst drawdown, and this is very, very important too when you're looking at people's track records, or you think about investing money with somebody who's an advisor. You don't want to look at how much they won, especially if they've won. You want to look at what happened along the way, which is the drawdown. This is something very critical, because who cares if the person dropped 50% and then finishes off and makes 50%? You're never going to last. You're going to blow yourself out and quit the guy. You're going to lose faith. It's what happens. It's human nature. What happened was, so of course, all my friends, I told everybody I was short the market every day on the television. Maybe like now, in today, 2021, the market keeps making new highs. Everyone's laughing at me, saying I'm stupid, I'm crazy, you can lose all your money. Even the broker, we had an account in New York at that time was at Prudential Beige, which is one of the large Wall Street banks at that time, calling my father, telling him, your son's going to lose all your money. You're stupid, I don't know what I'm doing. So we know what happens. So of course, what happens is the market collapses, and it would have been my biggest winning trade and put me on the map as an advisor, as a quote-unquote hedge fund. This was my dream, to be a commodity trading advisor. But remember, in order to get clients, you need that one big trade to show the people, especially a trade that nobody can see or nobody's going to do. This is how all these guys you read about all get clients. they have one big trade where it's a stock, make one big prediction, but not just predict it, they do it with their own money or their money and their clients' money and really make it and then publicize it. And this is how they generate all the clients to come to them. Because remember, you can never make huge money without other people's money. And I'm not talking about what's happened recently with GameStop. And this is a whole new situation was going on with Robinhood, where you can take a few $1,000s or $5,000, run it up to $1 million. I've read these stories, but this is a luck situation, believe me. So anyway, that really wiped me out. I didn't speak to my father for about a year. What happened was 2 weeks before that happened, he pulled the plug. And then it happened. All my friends thought I was a genius, and they all call me up and say, "You must be on top of the world." And that trade would have made about $250,000, and this was very big money for 1987. It'd be like, make in one day. I thought the market was going to come down over 6 months. And remember, in those days, there was no day trading unless you were a member on the floor. We all held positions, but it's for 2 weeks, 2 months. I held things for 4 months, 5 months. It was juice, soybeans, the market, the S&P trade short. But that really that ended my career as an advisor, because I thought, I just lost, I was just so disgusted. It was so painful sitting through that. Of course, I would never do something like today. I could have handled it better. I didn't bet it too big and didn't use a stop, which is wrong. This is not the way. But it wasn't so far out. It was down about 25%, and I had a 50% leeway. But the bottom line, this was really my worst moment and changed my life forever. And decided that I'm not going to be a money manager. I'm just going to focus on trading with my own money, no matter how much it is in that moment, and no one's going to tell me what to do. Which I want to tell you to close this episode, don't listen to anybody. Get your own money. I don't care if it's 5,000, 2,000, whatever the amount is, 100,000. Don't follow and listen to anybody, because anything is possible in the marketplace. Anything can happen. And believe in yourself and practice. So anyway, this is PK with Out of the Box, Best and Worst Trade. Talk to you tomorrow. Ciao, you guys.